So I started out writing about music for a local newspaper called the East Anglian Daily Times while I was working as a news reporter. From there I got some freelance work on a couple of magazines, one called Select and then Melody Maker. I worked for Melody Maker for about 6 months, freelance, and then I got a job working for an online CD sales site, which wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but it sort of started me off, and I was only there for a month or two, and then I got a job on Dot Music. It's one of the sort of forerunners of online journalism, music journalism, news site and reviews, etc. And that was about sort of 10 years ago, and I've pretty much been doing the same job ever since, only the website has changed enormously and it's been bought and sold. It was sold to BT, then it was sold to Yahoo, and my role has changed from being on staff as the news editor, then the reviews editor, and then I went freelance 5 or 6 years ago, and since then I've been contracted to Yahoo to provide all the editorial to them on a sort of day-to-day basis. There's a creativity to writing reviews that is missing from news. I mean, if you qualified tomorrow on an NCTJ course for news journalism, you'd be probably more than capable of doing a job as a news journalist for a music website. But there's more of an art to, I think, to the reviewing side of things. But in more recent years, my role has kind of changed again, really, in that I do a lot of editing other people's work. Like, we've got a reviews channel on Yahoo, so I've got sort of 10 writers who I commission them to do album reviews, and then they send their copies to me, and I have to sub it and publish it. I have to manage a budget from Yahoo to pay them. So, kind of across those 10 years, I've sort of done, you know, I've kind of done all of the roles. I've interviewed, I've reviewed, I've done news. They're all pretty well established. You know, there's a few people that have been working in magazines for and news journalism for as long, if not longer, than I have. I've got one guy who was working for me up until recently, who's just gone to work at Vice magazine. They work kind of across journalism, and they only do a little bit of work for me, so I don't know if they manage to make a living out of it. I've never really taken on any writers that didn't have a fairly decent kind of record already, because the competition is such that you don't really need to. You want to make sure you get someone in that can do it just like that. Although I did take on a friend of mine who wanted to get into journalism, and I just sort of mentored him, and he was good eventually. If you're serious about doing it, you should start writing straight away for yourself, and just work out whether you've got the enthusiasm and the ability for it. You'll be able to tell, I would have thought, whether what you've written is any good or not. I'm on the BBC Sound Of panel, the annual online thing where they interview or sort of question 100 tastemakers, and I went for James Blake. Who else? I quite like that Vaccines album. In terms of people that are completely undiscovered, I wouldn't say I'm as on the ball now as I was 10 years ago. I'm doing an MA, I'm pretty busy with that. So.
Okay, thanks, man.
Cheers.